Coming up in the news, the Grand Bahamas shipyard making history this week. 20 citizens in the South singled out for special honor. And a young man shot to death on Sunday morning.
The Bahamas Tonight Northern Edition starts now.
This is the Bahamas Tonight, the Northern Edition. Good evening all, I'm Shashina Rolf-Arkeson. As always, it is so great to have you with us. Topping the news this evening, history being made in Grand Bahamas industrial sector this week as the Grand Bahamas shipyard carries out a new groundbreaking dry dock operation. Carnival Cruise Line has released a video on its website showing this history-making event. Italia Hall has our top story.
The operation took place a few miles away from the Grand Bahamas shipyard and took a total of 12 hours. The Boca Vanguard then safely transported Carnival Vista to the Grand Bahamas shipyard, where repairs are underway, while the cruise ship is resting on the Boca Vanguard. The Boca Vanguard is said to be the world's largest semi-submersible ship, uniquely positioned to lift and transport extremely heavy cargoes in a dry and safe manner. Repairs will be made to the ship's isopod propulsion system. According to reports, Bacala's officials say the decision to use the Boca Vanguard as a dry dock platform comes as no other such equipment is currently available in the region. After being offloaded from the Boca Vanguard, Carnival Vista will depart from Freeport at the end of the month and resume its year-round cruise schedule from Galveston, Texas on July 27th. Italia Hall, ZNS Network News.
While they were celebrating history in the South this past weekend, several community leaders were recognized for their contribution to the development of that district. Jamila Mizik has more.
Some 20 individuals honored in a special way for their efforts in nation building over the years. The local government West Grand Bahama District Council hosting a Wall of Fame unveiling ceremony highlighting persons in the Pinders Point, Lewis Yard, Hunters, Mactown, and Williams and Russell Town communities. Giving the keynote address, Ambassador His Excellency Maurice Moore says the individuals are deserving of recognition as they are persons who have made great sacrifices in the building of the various communities.
It is an evidence of the kind of life these persons lived in these communities. It shows that if you have the right attitude, if you are courteous, and if you give your young children on the streets when you meet them, if you seek to guide them, later on in life they will remember and put your name also on the wall of remembrance.
Ambassador Moore commending local government for the initiative.
And it is indeed an excellent idea so that my grandchildren and your grandchildren will go up to the wall and ask, who are these persons and from whence they came? Somebody in the community will explain to them so that they can appreciate why these names are there.
Honorees for community service include Bernadette McIntosh Johnson, Eugenia Grant, Leonard Williams, Lockwood Grant, Simon Lewis, Charles Williams, Floyd Russell, Lionel McIntosh, and Oswald Pinder. Meanwhile, Frank Lewis, Fletcher Lewis Jr., and Lucille Russell Sherman were recognized for their contributions to sports. For religion, those honored were Havert Cooper, Leslie Woodside, and Reverend Dr. Wellington Pinder. And in the education category was Dorothy Lewis, Violet Wildgoose, Victoria Russell Duncombe, and Sister Mary Patricia Russell. James M. Pinder was recognized for his political contribution. The Wall of Fame sits in front of the Wheatley J. Grant YMTA in Hunters. Jamila Mizik, ZNS Network News.
Meantime, as the country continues to celebrate the 46th anniversary of independence, two well-known residents share what Abaco has achieved since 1973. Once again, here is Jamila Mizik.
Some Bahamians refer to the island of Abaco as being the Bahamas' third city after New Providence and Grand Bahama, as it is one of the country's more developed islands infrastructurally and economically. And these residents agree that Abaco is making a name for itself. Resident Gary Smith says since independence 46 years ago, the island has definitely come a long way.
We have all the government services on the island. Very few things that we have to leave for to go to Nassau for. And you notice we have several major banking facilities here, as well as hardware stores and whatever you need in the community, with a few exceptions. And this is why it's became such a popular destination with the cruising yachtsmen. Never thought I'd live to see the day I'll be in a traffic jam in Marsh Harbor, but sometimes on a Friday, you can be stuck in traffic for 5 to 10 minutes.
Now, Smith says one of the major contributions to the island's successful development is its growing tourism economy.
And tourism is really booming on the Abacos. We are a popular destination. What also contributes to our success in tourism is we have a lot of second homeowners on the various keys. So even I recall after the hurricane, when a lot of islands didn't have any visitors, we were fortunate enough that people came in to look at their property. So in that regard, we're doing extremely well.
Grand Bahama native Caravan Ferguson, who is now an Abaco resident, says like many other Bahamians, he relocated to the island for employment opportunities.
The harvest is ripe in Abaco. Abaco is very amazing, you know. The harvest is ripe, I'm telling you, where different people from different islands come to Abaco just for a job, you know. I meet a lot of Grand Bahamians in Abaco working, Baker's Bay, Hope Town, and different places.
But moving forward, here's what Smith says he'd like to see changed.
We have a voluntary fire service here. That's been the pet peeve with me. They're doing the yeoman's job, and we appreciate it. But I think we've reached a stage now where we need to have a firemen 24/7. They get to there in time, but they have to round up everybody to come and go. And that's one of the things that I'd like to see change.
Jamila Mizik, ZNS Network News.
Now on to the crime beat. Police are investigating an armed robbery and a homicide that occurred over the weekend. Officers were called to a business establishment on the Mall Drive around 2 o'clock Sunday morning, where two armed males had entered that establishment, held patrons at bay, and robbed them of personal items before making their escape on foot. Well, about a half hour later, police say they were called to the West Atlantic Drive area, where a male was found lying on the ground with gunshot wounds to the abdomen and the back. Police say the victim reported that he was approached by two males who shot him before fleeing the area on foot. The victim was seen by emergency medical services and transported to the Rand Memorial Hospital, where he later succumbed to his injuries. Now, police are aggressively investigating these matters and are appealing for any information that can assist with the investigation. And they're asking you to contact them at telephone numbers 350-3107 through 12, 911, 919 or your nearest police station. Meantime, a Grand Bahama man appearing in court Friday to answer to the charge of attempted murder. Eduardo Evans, 33, of Bruce Avenue, was arraigned before Magistrate Charlton Smith on 2 counts of attempted murder. He was not required to enter a plea. Bail was denied and he was remanded to the Bahamas Department of Corrections. Evans is accused of shooting 2 men outside of a business establishment on East Sunrise Highway on July 7th. The case was adjourned to September 10th for service of a voluntary bill of indictment. Still with news from the crime beat, a former resident of Grand Bahama getting a lengthy prison sentence in a U.S. prison for human smuggling through the Bahamas. According to U.S. media reports, Jamaican national 44-year-old Michael Stapleton was extradited to the U.S. last year and sentenced on Thursday of last week to 21 years and 10 months behind bars. A federal jury in South Florida found him guilty of 47 counts related to a human smuggling scheme. Prosecutors say Stapleton coordinated the smuggling of undocumented migrants to the United States from around the world through Freeport. In 2015, Stapleton was arraigned before the court here in Freeport for making threats of death against an immigration officer. He was deported to Jamaica in 2017. You're watching the Bahamas Tonight, the Northern Edition. Stay with us. There's more news right after the break.